What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be predicting UFC 328 Shemaev versus Strickland. This is a pretty good card. Um, I can see it being pretty entertaining, but I can also see it being pretty boring. We're going to go over all the fights, starting from the bottom of the card all the way to the main event. First fight on the early prelims, Clayton Carpenter versus Jose Ocha. I don't know much about him. I couldn't find a lot of footage on these guys. I managed to get a couple fights of them though. And overall, what I surmise, this is going to be a pretty quick one, this fight, but the rest I do have a little bit more in-depth breakdowns. Carpenter has some very good GMP, good ground and pound. He has good positional awareness and control, solid jab on the feet and submission skills. But I do think Ocha will be hard to sub due to having some solid defense in that regard. Both have solid boxing. I would probably give a slight advantage though to Ocha. But as Max Holloway would say, we'll find out tonight. We'll find out tonight. So I decided to go with a Carpenter unanimous decision. They're both coming off losses. This is flyweight, so we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of a fight that I could see going either way. I could see Ocha getting a knockout on Carpenter, or Carpenter getting a submission or a decision. But I just decided to go with Carpenter by UD. Moving on to the next fight, Baisangur Suzerkayev versus DeJordan Santos. I don't think either of these guys are that good. I don't think Suzerkayev is that good. I think he's pretty overrated. Look at this blob on the left. I think they're both going to be emoting this fight is one of my predictions. As we know, Suzerkayev likes to emote a bit, and I watch a little bit of Jordan Santos. He likes to emote. Um, yeah. Like I said, I don't think either of these guys are that good. Santos had a close fight with Ozzy Diaz that even though I think he won, he lost. So if you're a good fighter, you're not going to have a close fight with Ozzy Diaz. Simple as that. Um, Same thing with Suzerkayev. His first fight, I think, before he got the knockout, was like very close. He was, in my opinion, if I remember correctly, I think he was losing, in my opinion, and then he got the knockout. I just don't think he's that good. I don't just like the guy because of the emoting and stuff. I just don't think he's very good. We'll see. Maybe he can keep climbing up the division. I don't think Santos is a crazy win if he wins here, but I chose this being his first decision because Santos has or not first decision in his career, but first decision in the UFC because Santos has a pretty good chin on him. He got hurt in that round 3 against Ozzy Diaz, which is a bit suspect, so maybe the more he gasses out, the more Suzerkayev will be there to finish. Dang, Suzerkayev is taller than him? Wow. Interesting. You would not think from looking at this picture that Suzerkayev is taller than him, but I mean, the UFC gets their stuff wrong all the time, so we'll see. But yeah, he gassed out in that third round and then got hurt, so maybe he'll gas out here, and Suzerkayev will be able to hurt him and maybe finish him in that third round. I definitely think he has better finishing instincts than Ozzy Diaz, but I don't know. I just don't think he'll be able to finish him. So overall, I went this will be Suzerkayev's first decision in the UFC. Maybe it'll be around 3 KO though. I could also see that. Yeah. So moving up the card, we got Pat Sabatini versus William Gomis. I read the first time. Sabatini's pretty boring. He loves his lamb prey. But I personally don't see it working against Gomis. I don't know why, but I think the knees will be there for Gomis as Sabatini goes in. I think he can get a win by reversing position if he's smart instead of like settling for that position. Start teeing off on Sabatini and potentially get a TKO. Gomez is super heavy on his kicks, spins to the body, knees, teeps, elbows in the clinch, that kind of stuff. Sabatini has been, I think, Is his only loss in the UFC to Diego Lopez? I can't remember. Obviously not a bad loss. I don't remember. I feel like he's lost to somebody else, but I can't remember if he has. I don't know. I just think Gomez is decent, pretty decent on the feet, and I think his takedown defense could be there for him to get um, the win here. And I predict he'll get a. I didn't mean to press that. A round two knee KO as Sabatini shoots in. Sorry if y'all are hearing that sounds. I accidentally turned on my Xbox in my room. But yeah, I kind of just see him being able to figure out Sabatini maybe. And I predict it'll be in round two. Round two knee TKO. Or like I said, maybe he'll reverse position and start teeing off on Sabatini. So, yeah, going with Gomez there. Next up, Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio. This is a pretty interesting fight. Kopylov's coming off 2 L's to Costa and Robocop, which are obviously not bad losses. And Tulio, I forget who he lost to in his last. Christian Leroy Duncan, which is again not a bad loss. So I'm taking Kopylov by unanimous decision here. I think Tulio looks really good against guys when they don't throw back much, they don't move great. He's kind of able to style on them, but Kopylov's usually pretty active, moves around a decent bit. I think if this fight stays technical, Kopylov can kind of pick him apart. Even though Kopylov, I personally feel like he's not great with being pressured. I don't think Tulio has anywhere near the same amount of pressure as a Robocop or a Costa. So I can see Kopylov maybe getting a knockdown in this fight while Tulio tries to pressure, getting like a counter right hand, maybe that head kick that he landed against Chris Curtis in their fight. I can see there being a scare though as well, where he almost gets KO'd, like Tulio lands maybe just a random spinning wheel kick and hurts him, or overhand right, something like that. But I think he'll recover well. I don't think Tulio, like I said, is on the level of a RoboCop and Costa at all, and they're on great runs at the moment. He got dropped by Tresean Gore, which Tresean Gore looked better in his last fight, but at the time, I know Tresean Gore's known for having power, but still not crazy. Gore has God-given power. Kopylov has technical power. Like, he knows how to mix it to where his power will work well. And I feel like Kopylov's a gatekeeper, a new gatekeeper at middleweight. I think he'll kind of just beat the guys who are just not good enough to be ranked or elite fighters. Maybe he'll get ranked, 15 to 10, and then he'll lose to a good guy above him or maybe below him if he gets a contender matchup, something like that. So I pick Kopylov by unanimous decision here. I just think he will pick apart Tulio because I don't think Tulio is as special as some people say. But yeah, next up, Unk battle right here. How old are these two? Let's see. Where are they at? Oh, they don't say age? How dare you? Wow, they don't say age. Well, they're both old. Obviously, Jim Miller's older, but they're both pretty old. Last time Jim Miller fought was at UFC 314, where he lost to Chase Hooper. I don't remember how he lost to him, if it was a decision or submission. I doubt he knocked him out. But yeah, I just think Miller's too old, man. His strength of schedule, I feel, kind of reflects that. I think he might retire after this one, win or lose. And I don't know. I kind of see Gordon denying the takedown. Maybe he'll get his leg chewed up a bit. Maybe that'll make it easier for Miller to get the takedown. But I think I see him being able to survive, like leg kicks and stuff like that. And I don't think Miller gets finished, but I think he will get beaten up pretty bad. I hope he doesn't, because he's old, man. I don't want to see an old man get beat up as entertainment, you know what I mean? That's just something I'm not really down to watch. So, hopefully Jared Gordon doesn't put a beat down on Jim Miller. Hopefully Jim Miller can go out on his shield, have a good fight, and maybe retire, maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, he hasn't shown any signs that he'll retire, so maybe he won't. I don't know. Maybe he'll want to announce it before. We're seeing that a lot now, where fighters like to announce before instead of just announcing spur of the moment kind of thing. Usually, when they do that, they'll come out of retirement pretty quickly, like a Jalen Turner. Um, so we'll see. But yeah, I went with Jared Gordon by unanimous decision, like 30-27 probably. But we'll see. I could see these legs getting chewed up. Next up, Grant Dawson versus Mateusz Rebecki. Man, we here, we here on the Snowball MMA channel love us some Mateusz Rebecki. Absolute dog in the octagon. Love watching this man fight every time he steps in there. Um, we don't so much love Grant Dawson fights, you know. And I don't dislike Grant Dawson as a person. He's like a pretty chill dude, pretty funny guy at times. Just not most entertaining, you know. Not very entertaining. He got knocked out in his last fight by Manuel Torres. And Dawson's pretty chinny if you have a decent bit of power. Rebecki has a little bit of power. All of Dawson's losses are round 1 KOs. That could play a role here. We'll see. Um, Usually the way people get the wrestling to work on Rebecki is to kind of bust him up on the feet in the first, maybe even the second, usually even the second, the first 2 rounds, and then get him down and land ground and pound. And I just don't think Dawson's stand-up is clean enough to get a Rebecki hurt. Rebecki's got a lot of scar tissue, so he could get cut pretty easily in this fight. Whether or not he gets taken down, but Rebecki's not easy to take down. I feel like when he's fresh and when he's not hurt during a fight. You know what I mean? And Dawson likes to wing that lead overhand, kind of run in with hooks and stuff like that. Like, I think Rebecki's stand-up is just a bit too clean for that. But if Rebecki doesn't get an early finish here, I feel like this goes kind of like the Madsen fight for Dawson, where he gets hurt early but gets control on the ground and eventually finds a submission or a ground and pound TKO. But I feel like I'm going to go with another underdog here. I'm going to go with a Rebecki round 1 KO because that's the way Dawson loses. I really hope Rebecki wins here because I really like Mateusz Rebecki. He's one of my favorite fighters. You're going to hear me say that a couple times because a lot of my favorite fighters in certain divisions are on this card. And Rebecki is one of them. I really, really like Mateusz Rebecki. And I hope he can win here. Not because I dislike Grant Dawson again, just because I really like Rebecki, and 3 losses in a row, it makes me worried if they might cut him, and I hope they're not dumb enough to do that, even if he loses, because he's still really entertaining. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Rebecki Rama TKO. Please get it done, brother. We love you on this channel. Moving on to the next fight, Yoel Alvarez versus Yaroslav Amosov. This is an interesting one to me. This is a very, very interesting one to me. I took Yoel Alvarez by a round 3 TKO. I'm a big Yoel Alvarez guy. Again, that's another fighter on the card that I'm a big fan of. I think he's learned a lot since the Sarukian loss when it comes to defending the wrestling. And he's always had the ability to submit you and strike well. Amoslav always looks to see if he can get the takedown early, and if he can't, he'll test the striking a bit. And as long as Yoel doesn't jump a ghillie, which I really hope he doesn't. I don't think he's ever done it before. I could be misremembering, but I trust his fight IQ here. I see him defending it fine. But I will say, be careful with the kicks to the body. Other than that, though, the low kicks, head kicks, they work well on Amosov. Not a whole lot of movement from Amosov either. In that Jackson loss, which is the only loss of his career. Which, if he makes that mistake again of not using his head movement well, I can see Yoel catching him with a head kick or a right hand or maybe getting a Darce, if he shoots in. I just see Yoel having a lot more ways to win here. And I hope he gets it done because I'm, again, big Yoel Alvarez fan. Here I chose a round 3 Alvarez TKO. Maybe I see a submission. Close fight to call, though. I can see this one going either way for sure. Yeah, that's what I went with. This next fight, however, is not so hard to call. This next fight is probably the easiest fight to call on the card. Does it say odds on there? No, it doesn't, but I'm sure the odds are ridiculous here, as they should be. Tepe Gutierrez round 1 or KO. I'm sure I don't really need to explain myself here. Maybe Diaz survives round 2, I put. I don't really, like I said, this is a sacrificial lamb. Diaz isn't very good. He's been KO'd twice in the UFC. And I see him trying to spam that 1-2 and just getting caught with like a counter, maybe right hook while Gutierrez pulls out from the pocket, or a right overhand right. I mean, I just don't see Ozzy Diaz surviving here. So this one's pretty quick. Tepe Gutierrez round 1 or 2 KO. Moving up, this is the main card now. To Bobby Green versus Jeremy Stephens. Look at that, old Venom shorts. Man, look at the records on these two. 34-17-1 and 28, and with 1 no contest versus 28-20. I feel like this fight will be pretty fun. I feel like this will be an entertaining fight. Green's last 2 fights, he looked pretty dang good. Partly due to Zell Huber looking pretty trash as well. Combos look crisp, head movement on point, usual work we see from Bobby Green when he's in his flow. While for Stephens, his last fight in the UFC was that war with Mason Jones where he wasn't very active. He'd throw a jab every now and then. They'd swing a big overhand or a hook that you could see coming a mile away, which I think Bobby Green will. The combos weren't there, which is the opposite for Bobby Green. His best chance is to catch Bobby while he's doing one of those long combos Bobby Green does, and hope he doesn't leave the pocket in time to avoid that one. It could kind of go like the Drew Dober fight, where Bobby's kind of styling on him and beating him pretty clearly, but then just boom, like that, because Bobby Green's pretty chinny. But as we know, Dober has superpowers against, we'll just say, fighters like Green, and Jeremy Stephens does not. But I just think kicks work well against Jeremy Stephens as well, to the legs, body, and head. We saw that in the Mason Jones fight, and many times before in his career, but Bobby Green's just going to purely box with him here. I don't even see him trying to wrestle at all. So, yeah, I think this will be a Bobby Green either round 3 TKO or unanimous decision. I went with unanimous decision. But I think this fight will be pretty entertaining. That's my prediction. Moving on to the next fight. Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley. Interesting fight here. This was supposed to be a 5-rounder. This was supposed to take the place of, what was the card? It was the last Apex card. Sterling versus the Law. It was supposed to take that card. But they changed it, moved it over here. I don't remember if it was due to injury or they just wanted to put this fight on this card because they felt like it had a chance to be more entertaining or something like that. I don't know. But either way, both guys coming off losses to one to Usman, one to Morales. Buckley likes blitzing in, which he can get caught up in a clinch with Brady. If he does that, and Brady might be able to take him down that way. Buckley isn't active off his back usually, which can definitely work towards his detriment against a Sean Brady, who I can see doing just enough damage, submission attempts and stuff on the ground to win. Brady's not afraid to keep it on the feet. I think he'll be much less afraid to keep it on the feet against Buckley. Not because Buckley doesn't have power. He just has less power than a Michael Morales by far. He made the mistake in Usman fight, Buckley, of punching like the body and stuff multiple times instead of defending a single leg, which really was weird. Very Like, interesting fight IQ decision, and I really like Buckley, but I just did not see what he was doing there. The question here is, does Buckley have the takedown defense he had in round 5 against Usman? Or is it gonna go like rounds 1, 2, and 3? You know what I mean? Where he just gets taken down easily. You know, round 4 he defended it a lot better. Still got taken down, but defended it a lot better. I don't think he will. I don't think he'll get subbed. He's never been subbed in his career. I just kind of see Brady doing just enough damage with some sub attempts in there, like I said, to get the UD. But I hope Buckley wins. I like him more than Brady by far. No offense, Sean. I don't dislike you. I just like Buckley way more. Um, but I don't know. I just don't see Joaquin getting past this. And I'm going with a Brady unanimous decision here, which makes me sad. Another fight that's going to make me sad. Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. I'm going with Waldo by round 3 TKO, which pains me to say because Volkov's one of my favorite heavyweights ever. Waldo likes to throw that jab out there, then immediately get outside of the pocket and stay out there. Volkov kind of wades forward sometimes, not a lot of head movement. Waldo's pretty light on his feet usually. Like, there's just so many factors here I see playing towards the detriment of Volkov and working towards the win of Waldo Cortez Acosta. Um, I don't know. Waldo has a habit of rushing in, which is bad, but due to the factors of having a good chin and Volkov not having a lot of power, I think he'll be able to get away with it here if he does it. He won't be able to do that against a Pereira, Gon, or Aspinall, though, I feel like. Maybe Gon, because Gon doesn't have as much power, but a Pereira or Aspinall, he definitely won't be able to get away with that against. Volkov puts combos together very nicely, especially his kicks to the body and legs. They work really well. Man, my heart really wants to go Volkov here because he's one of my favorite heavyweights. And he should be in the spot Gon is in, man. He should have fought Aspinall in a rematch. Would he have probably lost? Yeah. But we would have at least gotten Aspinall Pereira at the White House instead of Gon Pereira for interim. I can just see this going like the Derek Lewis fight too, even if it works well for Volkov, where he kind of wins, but his lack of head movement at times will just get him caught by some big shots from Waldo, and Waldo will get a KO, but I really hope I'm wrong, man. I hope Volkov wins here, gets the 40th career win. And here's the thing, the winner of this will probably still end up fighting again in like a title eliminator with a Hackett Lewis winner, which y'all see in my prediction video. Whenever we eventually do that, it will be a travesty if Derek Lewis wins that fight, but not because Derek Lewis is, we don't like him, but it would be a travesty for a lot of reasons that I will go over eventually in that prediction video. Maybe I'll do it before, we'll see, but yeah, they'll probably have to fight a winner of that regardless, so they probably won't get a title shot either way. So if Volkov wins, he's still damned to another fight probably, which sucks because he should have gotten that shot if he didn't get robbed by Gon. But I'm going with a Waldo Cortez Acosta round 3 TKO, like I said, and I really hope I'm wrong here. I hope we see a vintage Volkov performance where he gets the win because I want him to fight for a world title. I think he deserves it, man. Moving on to the co-main, though. Joshua Van versus Tatsuro Taira. Interesting fight here. Interesting fight. Two young guys, man. Young guys. I don't remember how old, but look at those records. 16-2, 18-1. And young men, man. Not like a Usman Covington when they were both like 32, 31. No, these guys are I think they're like 26 and 28 respectively, something like that. I could be wrong. Maybe even younger for Van. Could be I think Van's even younger. I think Van's like 24, 25. I don't know, but very young guys here. I went with Van by unanimous decision. I think we kind of saw in the Royval fight for Taylor that if he faces a very good boxer with some good takedown defense, he'll kind of struggle. Van hasn't showed off crazy takedown D. The best wrestler he's faced, aside from Pantoja for like 10 seconds before Pantoja got injured, was Cody Durden. So, I could be misremembering here, but if I am remember correctly, that's not great. But he did have good defense for that fight. Van's ability to defend the takedown will be a big thing in this fight. But Taylor's stand up has definitely improved. He definitely doesn't make the same mistakes he made in like the Royval fight where he'll kind of overswing while the guy's putting combos on him. He'll be a bit more defensively sound doing something like that, which Van will try to put those heavy combos on him with good footwork. Taylor needs to look for maybe a counter, see if he can get the takedowns working. Obviously, we'll see how that goes for him. I honestly think right now the only person Van beats in the top 5, aside from Royval, obviously, is Taira. I do think this is the only guy. I think he loses to Cap. I think he loses to Horiguchi. I think he loses. Well, I mean, Cap him a little bit. He might beat Cap, but I think he loses to Horiguchi. I think he loses to Pantoja if Pantoja comes back the same, and that injury hasn't like affected him badly. Then I think he loses to Pantoja. So this is his chance to get a title defense in here, in my opinion, because I do think the rest of flyweight in the top 5 beats him right now. Aside from Royval, which even Royval I could see beating in a 5-rounder. I don't know though. I don't know. We've seen Van's cardio be pretty good in 3-rounders. Like he looks fine in the 3rd round, even at a high pace, like against a Royval. But 4 and 5 are different animals, so we'll see how he handles that. Tabras has that experience, given only one fight that he lost, but he has that experience. I went with a 49, 46, 48, 47 Van. Maybe like the Royval fight, I see Tabor having like a grappling round where he kind of wins it due to his damage on the ground and stuff like that. And then maybe Van gets a little tired in that 4th, 5th round because he hasn't been there, and I can see Taylor winning a round on the feet in a close one. He wins a close round on the feet, and yeah, I'm gonna go 48-47 Van here. I was gonna go 48-9-46, but I'm gonna go 48-47 Van here. Like I said, I think Taylor will win like a close striking round and a pure grappling round, while Van's rounds will be obviously mostly pure striking. But this fight, I think, has the potential to be the best of the 2 title fights. Definitely more than Chimaev Strickland. Which, speaking of the devil, let's move on to the main event. Khamzat Chimaev versus Khamzat Strickland. Jeez, man, this picture is cursed. Get this off my screen on the right. Get an updated picture, man. I went with Chimaev by 49-46 decision. If Strickland wins, it'll probably be a 49-46 as well. That's what I thought. I think whoever wins this, it'll be a 49-46. For Chimaev, I think it'll be a wrestling heavy win. And I'll talk about it a bit more here in a second, why I changed my mind. I don't think it'll be a wrestling heavy win, but I do think wrestling will obviously be implemented. Or a 49-46 jab and teep fest for Sean Strickland. I don't see either guy finishing the other in this fight. Strickland, I think, has underrated takedown or submission defense. I think his get-ups are pretty underrated too. I think he can get up very well from Chimaev. Obviously, he hasn't faced a wrestler like Chimaev, but I think he can definitely get up from a few of Chimaev's takedowns here. I don't see Sean losing by sub or knockout, and I don't see Chimaev winning by sub. I don't see a knockout, but I think Chimaev has a higher chance to win here by KO TKO than by submission, to be honest. Could Sean pull off a crazy win the same way he did? Or not a crazy win, but a win the same way he did against Fluffy? I predicted him to beat Fluffy. Maybe, could he pull off a similar way? A similar way? Goodness, I can't speak. Can he beat Chimaev a similar way? There we go. To how he beat Fluffy? Maybe. But I just feel like Hamzat's is definitely his wrestling is definitely levels above Fluffy's. I can see us getting a few rounds that take mostly on the feet because Sean's get ups, like I said, are pretty underrated. And I think Shemaev's stand up is a little underrated, to be honest. I don't think he's like incredible, but he is good on the feet. I don't think Sean clearly wins this fight on the feet either. I think this fight is closer in a lot of regards than most people are saying. I think this fight's pretty close on the feet, and I think Strickland does better getting up from the ground than people think he's gonna have. Um, I think round one will probably be a dominant grappling round for Shemaev, but round two maybe being a mostly stand up. Sean might figure out how to get up from his back quickly, and maybe after that, I can see it being kind of like where they're kind of, jab deep, and then Shemaev's trying to come in with his 1-2, some hooks. I don't think he'll lunge in a lot like he did against like Gilbert Burns or anything like that, but I could see him taking chances here, potentially because him and Strickland got a lot of bad blood, but either we'll get that or we'll get him laying praying. I can see him winning this fight, kind of similar to how he beat DDP, but I don't think he will. I think the last three rounds will be where it's kind of like a coin toss for how the winner wins it. But round one, I think, will be Shemaev for sure, and round two will be a closely contested fight on the feet mostly. And then after that, like I said, we'll see. Could it go like DDP Shemaev? Could it go like DDP Strickland? I don't know. We'll see. When it comes to like mostly close striking fight, that's how I kind of see this fight on the feet is DDP Strickland 1, where it's pretty close in the fight. You got Strickland with volume, but maybe Shemaev with more heavy hands. We'll see. But overall, like I said, I'm gonna go with a 49-46 decision for Hamza Shemaev to get that first title defense, and he'll probably say, I want to move up and fight this bullshit guy. What's his Ulberg? This guy bomb, brother. Like, easy, easy money. I could see him doing something like that at a post fight, and maybe the UFC lets him. We'll see. I feel like middleweight would be, or light heavyweight does. They need a clear contender because right now the guy who deserves the title shot most is Costa, and he just beat Mirzakhanov. So, maybe like I in my light heavyweight matchups, I said do Costa versus Ankalaev for interim vacant, or as a title eliminator if Ulberg can get back quick enough. But in the meantime, if you don't want to do that, then maybe do Shemaev versus Ulberg or Shemaev versus Costa for, I don't know. We'll see. It depends on the severity of Ulberg's injury. And I think him vacating makes sense, to be honest, because he'll probably be out a long time. But Ulberg doesn't strike me like a Yuri or a Jamal Hill even, where he's like, yeah, I'm going to be out a long time, so I'll do what's best for the division and vacate here. I feel like he'd be like, nah, I want to keep my belt, I'll earn this belt, so I kind of want to keep it. It's like, yeah, thanks, man, really appreciate it. You're such a warrior. Yuri's, goodness, such a bum. Am I still recording? Okay, good. I wasn't moving, so. But yeah. Anyways, enough about light heavyweight. That's my predictions for UFC 328. I might do a fight companion. Don't expect it though. I'll definitely do a card breakdown though for this card. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully my predictions are good. Last card I went 9-4. Forgot to mention that. And if I didn't go with a crafty Mearshart pick, I tried to get a crafty underdog Mearshart submission win. I didn't believe in that pick at all. I would have went 10-3. So, but I did choose Mearshart, so I went 9-4. Obviously much better than Sterling Zalal though, so happy about it. And hopefully this card we can get in double-digit wins. We'll see. A lot of these fights are kind of close, so I'm not super confident for this card on that. But anyways, hope you guys all enjoyed. I love y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe on how you feel about all this, or just let me know. Anyways, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.